It's June. You know what that means. It's time for Fury to celebrate Pride Month the one way he knows how. So let's get to talking about some manga. First things first, let's just get the obvious out of the way. You knew it was coming, I knew it was coming, we were all coming. Any windows are fun, but anyways, rather than just mentioning one, I'm just going to mention Nagabe's entire bibliography at this point. If you don't know who Nagabe is, he's a very popular mangaka. He wrote Shularun, Girl from the Other Side, a very popular story that I'm pretty sure you've at least seen before. But did you know that he also likes writing furry yaoi? Like really likes writing furry yaoi. Seriously, take your pick because he's written a lot of it, most of which I've already covered. Do you have a scent kink? Then go for Smell, a manga about two high schoolers who end up finding each other's scent alluring. You like cross-dressing and comedy? Go for Bochu Oni, which follows a businessman trying to preserve his secret love for drag. Don't like any of those? Try Eat. It's a manga that's all about vor because why not? You like school-age stories? What about a bunch of them all in one giant anthology collection because Nagabe did that too. And I've talked about all of these before across like a dozen different videos, so just sift through my channel, just pick a random one and you'll probably see something by him in it. I actually did an entire video about that anthology collection too. It was actually really good. I know he has two mangas I haven't covered yet. One of them I plan to cover next week, that being Love Stories from the Other Side, assuming nothing gets me off track again. Not sure if it's queer though. Moving on from the obligatory Nagabe mention, we have a manga that I only read by complete surprise, like I just randomly remembered it, like literally as I was making this video this week, and it's called A Polar Bear in Love. This manga is all about a seal named Lil Seal. Can you guess why? It's because he has a secret rap career with Will Smith. Kidding, it's because he's very small. And somehow, despite being a seal, you know, a thing polar bears eat, it's a polar bear of all things that falls in love with him, much to the little seal's utter horror. That's pretty much this manga's entire gimmick. The bear says something that's supposedly endearing, only for little seal to take it the wrong way and nearly piss his non-existent pants in fear. I will say that the manga does have a surprising amount of heart to it, with moments like the polar bear and the whale sticking out to me. It's this discussion of mortality and the value of our lives that's really nice. Genuinely didn't expect death of all subjects to be a thing in this manga, but I'm surprisingly okay with it. I also have a weird soft spot for the art because naturally, for the Arctic setting, everything has very light colors to it, which stands out since mangas tend to love using high contrast. It's not something I'd say was unprecedented or even ultra impressive, but it manages to make the manga look unique. And I really do have to give respect to the comedy in the manga because sometimes it does genuinely manage to get a good laugh from me. There's the time they consider going to a tropical beach and Little Seal wonders if he's going to get hit on by older women. The polar bear says, don't worry, he'll protect him. And Little Seal says, please don't. I never expected the seal of all things to be a MILF hunter. And also...
Whoa, he's bisexual, I didn't know that.
By the way, I'm bisexual.
It's actually very hard to find queer manga, so I'm going to branch out slightly and talk about a webcomic, a webtoon specifically, named Duncan and Eddie. I originally planned to make an entire video about it rather than XXL Woofia last week, so you know what that means. You get to hear my unfinished script. Yeah! You may have guessed it, but the webcomic Duncan and Eddie is all about Duncan and Eddie, two gay boys who are deeply in love. I find the best way to describe Duncan and Eddie isn't necessarily with a comic, but with its structure, that being a short strip comic. This means the best way to describe Duncan and Eddie in terms of manga is a 4-koma, a Japanese term for short strip comics that literally translates into 4-panel. An example of a 4-koma you probably know is Pop Team Epic, which was a comedy, although seeing as 4-koma is just a structure, not all 4-komas are comedy. There's a lot of variation even within the style. And to its benefit, Duncan and Eddie's jokes are done very well, with the bulk of them focusing on Eddie and Duncan's relationship. It's very saccharine sweet, with very few if any real problems present in the relationship itself. And the format leans into this by making the comic so short and quick that you don't really have time to linger and want more. Unsurprisingly, this also means the webcomic has very few side characters. The important ones are Mason and Kip, but my favorite is first Vicky, Eddie's sister's best friend. Eddie's sister's best friend. Sounds like I'm making a Spaceballs reference, but no, that's generally what I should say. It's what she is. I just love how in this fairly realistic webcomic, she's just a cartoon character. She's silly, she's goofy, she owns an umbrella with her own goddamn face on it. The second favorite character I have is Eddie's uncle, and the reason this webcomic goes viral every so often. You've seen these pages before, when Eddie gets a ho-ho homosexual shirt, when Eddie's uncle gets mad at Eddie being disowned. And yes, they are as peak as they look in context. Just go give the webcomic a read, I'm begging you. Currently in the webcomic, a lot of focus is being placed on Kip and Mason's relationship, and it stands to serve as a nice contrast to the one between Duncan and Eddie. And although I say current, I have to add the stipulation that it's not really, because the I was about to call it a manga, and I was doing so good too. As I was saying, although I say currently, I have to add the stipulation that the webcomic is currently on hiatus because the creator has to focus on school or something, I don't honestly remember. Should I have actually gotten off my ass and checked to make sure? Yeah, but I already overcommitted and recorded that line, so I guess we're just gonna have to move on. Here's the obligatory like and subscribe and check out my Ko-fi and Patreon part of the video that I know you're just going to skip. We've had enough gay boys, so it's time to do lesbians with Love Allergy Syndrome. This short manga is all about Momoji, who falls in love with the human Haragi. She's cool and mysterious, always wearing a face mask like it's peak COVID. And just like that, this video has one of those ugly little banners beneath it. The only problem with Momoji's little crush is that Haragi wants nothing to do with her, telling her to stay away. Don't worry, her crush isn't racist, just allergic to dog furry fur, hence the name Love Allergy Syndrome. This is one of those mangas where I really struggle to fill this time out because like I said, this manga is short, like fuck reading it in a day, you can finish it in under an hour. I read kinda fast, so I finish it in just a couple of minutes. I could have read this on the bus and be done with it. And to be brutally honest, this manga isn't anything super special, it's a nice simple story with a simple payoff. If you ever feel the need to quickly say let's go lesbians, then you should give this one shot a read. I will praise the world building actually, because it could have been a lot of nothing, but instead we're giving odd tidbits like furry humans and non-furry anthros actually having an in-universe word. It's a small detail, but I think it's things like that that can help the suspension of disbelief for small stories like this. Here's the part of the video I call the human section, because this is the part where I talk about mangas without furries for once. The first manga is one I've made a whole video about, one that was pretty good, and you should probably watch it. And to be fair, you probably did, because the video was very popular. Its name was I Think Our Son Is Gay. The protagonist of this manga is a mother named Tomoko Aoyama, who has two sons. The youngest is Yuri, but the manga is more about the older one, Hiroki, because he's almost assuredly gay. Not that he's very good at hiding it, because both his mom and brother already know. Then again, somehow his crush and the girl crushing on him don't know, and that's what makes the dynamic between Hiroki and everyone else so much fun. But remember, the protagonist is really Tomoko, and the big question guiding the series is if she's handling having a closeted gay son the right way. What I do love too is how there isn't any real antagonist to the series either. There's no main villain, just people who say odd comments, I guess. In that big video I mentioned earlier, I described the things they say as things they definitely wouldn't say if they just thought for like a second. It leans into the story's strong sense of realism, which aids in its goal, because remember, the protagonist of this manga isn't the gay son, it's his mother, and it's people like that who are this manga's target audience. And that's what makes it feel different from a lot of the other queer manga I've read, and why I super recommend you read it. The next manga of the human set I'd like to cover is one I've also made a whole video about that I know your asses didn't watch. Is this human section part of the video just an excuse to get more people to hop on Peak, you ask? And yes it is. The name of this manga is the guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all. Called Granari for short, thanks to its green color palette. It's all about Aya Usawa, who catches a crush with a super hot guy from her favorite record shop, the guy who happens to be the girl who sits right next to her in class. It's a fun dynamic that honestly doesn't last too long because unlike a lot of other romance stories, we're given a lot of time to actually dwell on these characters liking each other. First, it's this unknown thing where Michi has to keep her secret from Aya, then it's as friends gradually glowing closer and closer and closer, and currently in the manga, they've already kissed. The manga also has a pretty sick focus on music that somehow manages to give the manga a score. I'd seriously recommend you listen to the songs they're playing as you read it to enhance the experience. This manga is just great, and I'll say it again, I made an exhaustive video about it, which you definitely should watch. You will like the same things I do, and yes, that is a threat. Moving on, does anyone remember Fabulous Beast? I mentioned it in a pretty old video that I really should get to making a sequel for, but did you know it has a manga? Well, not exactly a manga. Rather, since the series, Yusho Yan as it's called, is Chinese in origin, it would be called a manhwa. Yusho Yan roughly translates into "there be beasts," which refers to the fact that in the story, all the main characters are creatures and monsters from Chinese myth and folklore. The story primarily follows Pipi, a Piju, a mythical beast who, like many, are struggling in the modern era. Thankfully, he finds a place with an old friend, Shibuzhang, but his old friend is still a wily old bastard, essentially turning Pipi into a guard dog. The series is like Duncan and Eddie in Pop Team Epic, taking a strip comic format to tell short jokes. There is an ongoing plot, and beats from one chapter do move forward, but the focus in the moment are just the jokes. The reason it manages to qualify for this Pride Month video is thanks to this rabbit right here, Tuye. He is deeply, and I mean deeply, in love with Shibuzhang, though it's worth noting that Yusho Yan exists in the same universe as another manhwa, Fei Renzai. That yellow rabbit is actually Tuye's ex, and that means I get to use this clip again.
My fellow Americans, I think we all know where this is going, so let's just skip to the end.
Whoa, he's bisexual. I didn't know that.
By the way, I'm bisexual.
Good old Snapcube. Never treats me wrong. I will fully admit that I haven't finished this one. You wanna know why? It's because this manhwa is currently at over 1,000 chapters long. Like, what the fuck? Is this Oda's side project? God damn. I fully intended to cover this one way earlier, I just haven't ever been able to get through the entire thing. It's great, and I recommend you read it, but even if the chapters are short with over 1,000, then know you will be in for the long haul. And now we get to the final thing I'd like to talk about today. It's actually something I've already talked about before, and recently at that, so I'll make this one quick. It's called I Think I Like You, a webtoon that's all about a gay little rabbit named Sky falling in love with a gay little wolf named Leon. The first chunk of the series plays the whole will they won't they thing, where it's all about Sky and Leon getting together, and they do, which makes it nice to actually see the romantic couple in a romantic story. Outside of the romance, the big focus is on the main character's past, because they both have stuff that they aren't so ready to share. The next thing that elevates the manga are the side characters, my personal favorite being Zeb and Jax, which is a whole thing I really suggest you read for yourself because the twists and turns of that relationship are actually better than what we get in the main one. It's this funny journey of self-discovery. Hang on, wait a minute, I forgot that neither of these characters are entirely gay. While they do like men, it's overt for one and at least kind of implied that they also like women. Really? No clip? I have expected that to interrupt.
Whoa, he's bisexual. I didn't know that.
By the way, I'm bisexual.
There we go, knew it was somewhere. This webtoon isn't necessarily long, but it's got some decent length to it, so give it a read if you're interested. I originally wanted to make this video longer, but I lost like the entire project file when my fucking editor crashed, so we're just gonna have to settle for this. So let's just wrap things up and get to the ending because it's 5 AM, blah blah blah, you know how we make videos. For our 3 stars, we have special thanks to Choron, SkyKing64, 80, and Again, Phasor, Chow Venice, I Moon 8, The Good Old Days, and Stasi. For 4 stars, we have McCoydes and Utterly Awe, The Rush Sale Grab. And for our Super D2per special 5-star shoutouts, we have Hodari Lion, The Merciful Hymn. Thank you for watching, do be sure to like and subscribe. As always, this Hero's Fury signing out.